Why did Heracleion sink underwater? What connected this city with Queen Cleopatra and one of Sparta's most ruthless rulers, Menelaus? In these frames, shot a quarter of a century ago, the leader of the European Institute of Underwater Archaeology expedition, Franck Goddio, discusses with colleagues the next dive off the coast of Alexandria. In a few days, the French researcher will go down in history as the discoverer of Heracleion. Everyone who is even slightly interested in history has heard of this ancient city, but no one knew exactly where it was located or even if it really existed. This is somewhat similar to the legendary Troy, which was also a myth for a long time until Heinrich Schliemann discovered it. It's the same here. That is, Heracleion is very often found not only in myths and legends, but also in historical sources. But many believed that it was more of an invention, and just some kind of metaphor, or the name of another city. Many ancient writers and historians mention Heracleion, but in their treatises, facts are intertwined with obvious fiction. Diodorus Siculus wrote that the city of the Nile Delta appeared thanks to Heracles. Allegedly, in this place, the great river constantly overflowed and flooded settlements. The son of Zeus, who was famous for his enormous strength, changed the course of the Nile with his bare hands. The floods stopped, and the locals built a grand temple in honor of their savior. Soon, a city grew up around it. It was also named after the hero. Another Greek historian, Herodotus, mentions Heracleion in connection with the famous legend of the Trojan prince Paris and his beloved Helen. The most beautiful woman on earth was the wife of the Spartan king Menelaus. The handsome Paris fell in love with her and abducted her. This marked the beginning of the Trojan War, as Homer's poem The Iliad tells in detail. Fleeing from the wrath of her husband when they had to reach Troy by sea, a storm threw them far from their homeland. Here, having landed on the shore of Egypt, Paris of Troy and Helen discovered the city of Heracleion, where they were quite well received. As scholars believe, Heracleion was built not by the Greeks, but by the Egyptians around the 8th century BCE. And originally, it was called Thonis. It was built in honor of the sun god Amun-Ra. This is one of the main gods in the pantheon of ancient Egyptians. A huge temple complex was located here, but very soon a large Greek diaspora appeared in Thonis. According to one version, the indigenous inhabitants hired several squads of Hellenes to protect them in case of a possible Persian attack. Gradually, more and more settlers from the northern Mediterranean arrived, and the city received a second name. Judging by the numerous inscriptions found in two languages, Greek and Egyptian, it seems that in the city of Heracleion, the Egyptian language was heard no less than Greek. Or perhaps, vice versa, Greek was heard no less than Egyptian. As the research by Franck Goddio and his team showed, the city's heyday fell in the 6th to 4th centuries BCE. Heracleion is called the ancient Venice. It was located on several islands, between which canals ran. On the seabed, archaeologists found the ruins of majestic buildings and numerous statues. The largest ones are 5 meters tall and made of pink granite. This is a statue of the Egyptian pharaoh Ptolemy II. There are also statues of the god of harvest Hapi and Isis, the patroness of motherhood. Researchers discovered many luxury items in the flooded houses, jewelry, expensive tableware, and scattered gold and silver coins. If we judge by the archaeological excavations, by the way of life, it is clear that wealthy people lived in Heracleion because it was a trading city, located at the intersection of land, sea, and river routes. And, accordingly, this gave weight and significance to Heracleion. In the 4th century BCE, Egypt was conquered by Alexander the Great. The great commander founded a city named after him, very close to Heracleion. Alexandria became the new capital of the Egyptian kingdom and the center of Hellenistic culture. This will be the pearl of the Ptolemaic era in Egypt. But nevertheless, Heracleion was just about 20 kilometers from Egyptian Alexandria, and it did not lose its significance. In confirmation of these words, historians recall it was Heracleion that the future queen of Egypt and one of the most famous women in history, Cleopatra, chose for her coronation. The lavish ceremony took place in 51 BCE. The ruler was then 18 years old. After ascending the throne, Cleopatra ordered the construction of a palace in Heracleion, where she occasionally came to rest from state affairs. Marble columns and marble floors were found. It is assumed that the entire palace was white because it was all made of marble. They say there was a mosaic in every room. They say the palace was 4 stories high, and it is assumed that Cleopatra was on the 4th floor. And also, there were about 4 watchtowers there. After the end of Cleopatra's rule, her beloved city gradually fell into decline, and moreover, it experienced several floods and earthquakes. The most terrible one occurred in the 8th century. It was accompanied by a devastating tsunami. It was then, as scholars believe, that Heracleion sank underwater. The first Christians created a legend about this natural disaster, according to which the city met the fate of the biblical Sodom and Gomorrah. Many legends and myths, again, link this to the fact that the locals led a rather dissolute, idle lifestyle, and this was some kind of heavenly punishment. Archaeologists have been studying the sunken city for more than 20 years and make new discoveries during each expedition. In 2023, divers found the ruins of a large temple dedicated to Amun-Ra and the remains of an Aphrodite sanctuary, and in 2021, a well-preserved Ptolemaic galley. This is a Greek warship with Egyptian elements. By the way, at the very beginning of the research on the territory where Heracleion's port once was, Franck Goddio discovered 64 sunken ships. This is the largest ancient ship cemetery in the world. Interestingly, all 4 anchors of these ships were literally arranged as if in a real, beautiful, perfect parking lot. It showed, among other things, how precisely and organized everything was here in the port. Special attention from researchers was drawn to 12 identical flat-bottomed boats made of low acacia wood. Such cargo barges were described in detail by Herodotus. He called them barris. The historian recounted that the boats reached more than 20 meters in length. The Egyptians built them from beams, which they stacked together like bricks, and the grooves were sealed with papyrus. The same material was used to make the sails. For a long time, archaeologists could not find a single vessel resembling what Herodotus described, and decided that the ancient Greek scholar had either invented it all or got something mixed up. But in 2003, Franck Goddio confirmed. The historian was right. It turned out that their length reaches up to 28 meters, which is quite a large size for ancient Greek and ancient Egyptian ships. So, it has been established that they are indeed made of Nile acacia, and the design of the rudder and stern post is exactly as described by Herodotus and other ancient authors. Over 2 decades, archaeologists have raised more than 14,000 items made of wood, stone, and gold from the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea. But, of course, it will not be possible to bring the entire sunken city to the surface. Although it is located not far from the shore, at a shallow depth of about 10 meters, raising the ruins of buildings and structures to the surface is an extremely complex task. And is it even necessary? Meanwhile, some travel agencies are developing the idea of organizing excursions there on small submersibles. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out a lot. And please leave a comment below. I read every single one, and your feedback means the world to me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.